Alright, now we're gonna cover Minions, The Rise of Gru. Now, if y'all know me, I love the Despicable Me movies, especially part 2. When the Minions turn purple, I can't get enough of that shit. Anyway, we starting back from the beginning. So there's this group of notorious criminals back in the day in 1976 called the Vicious Six, led by a nigga named Wild Knuckles. You got this lady looking like undercover brother, they call her Belt Bottoms. She ended up getting away from the cops, they go to their hideout. The hideout's called Criminal Records. Cause it looks like a record store and there's criminals. Hilarious, right? So she didn't really steal jewels or anything like that. What she stole was a map. Now this map covers a certain temple in Asia. Wild Knuckles is going to go inside this temple to retrieve the Zodiac Stone. Now apparently when you get the stone, and it happens around like 12 o'clock, it's supposed to give all 6 of them the powers of, monsters or whatever to destroy the world or whatever, I guess. So after he gets out the temple, the rest of his crew comes there with a helicopter or whatever. They got on a rope. They give the crew the stone, but the thing is, they end up betraying Wild Knuckles. Talking about getting too old, we need young, fresh meat. And then they cut the rope and leave him for dead in Asia. So technically now it'll be the Vicious 5, even though they're still calling themselves the Vicious 6. But we find out later on they're taking their applications to see if we find another new evil person. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have Gru. Now, Gru is like a kid at this point. He's like 13 or some shit. So while all the parents are picking up their kids from school, Gru has his classic 3 minions picking them up. Kevin, Samuel, and the other one. They basically running around doing evil shit, snatching ice cream cones and eating it in front of people trying to work out and shit. Just a bunch of random kid stuff. So we find out he's infatuated with the Vicious Six, and Wild Knuckles is like his favorite villain of all time. So he actually gets a message in the mail because he's been trying to do auditions and they finally sent him something back. So now it's his chance to try to join the Vicious Six. We find out his mom still lives with him, and she's like working with this tie-dye Woodstock fitness instructor. Well, anyway, we go back down to the basement and you see all his minions down there. And this is where they're getting the start of building the infamous lair. Now, usually his 3 boys come there, to do missions and whatnot. But Gru's got to do this by himself because he's trying to impress the Vicious Six. So he goes in the store and he talks to this guy that's running the record store. A guy by the name of Mr. Nefario, a.k.a. Dr. Nefario. But at that time, he was just running the record store. He ends up giving him this gadget. He calls it the Sticky Fingers. And this gadget is very handy for him in the rest of the movie. That's right, this is the first gadget Dr. Nefario gave to him. So he basically goes in for his interview. The Vicious Six treat him like a joke because he's a little kid. And then while this other applicant comes in, he's like breathing fire or whatever like that. But he's like, it's goofy. He's like flying around. They're trying to stop him. Meanwhile, while all that's going on, Gru gets an idea to steal the Zodiac Stone. And he uses his Sticky Fingers hands to do it while the rest of the Vicious Six are distracted by this other random person that's trying to do for the audition. He ends up getting away with the help of the minions because they end up following him there. Now his purpose in stealing the Zodiac Stone was to show them that he could be a real villain too. But seeing as how disloyal they are when it comes to their own leader, I don't think they're going to take it in that fashion. Now the crazy thing is, Wild Knuckles is back and he's got his own little henchman that he's not really paying them a whole lot with, but he's paying them in knowledge. So while Gru was making his getaway, he gave the Zodiac Stone to one of the minions named Otto, so they can follow him off his trail and he can go back to the hideout. You know how that goes. Bottom line is they all made it back safe and sound. Otto makes it back, but the problem is Otto doesn't have the stone. He has this random ass wooden stone. So now he's thinking to himself, how the fuck did you lose the goddamn Zodiac Stone? So they flash back to when he was in his park. He was going through all these trials and tribulations and everything. He finally got the stone back. And then he's looking in the window with this kid's birthday party. He trades this kid the Zodiac Stone for a regular stone. I'm like, really? So obviously Gru's pissed off. He's got to find a way to get this stone back. So as he's walking out the house, this van comes out of nowhere and kidnaps Gru. Kevin sees it. We're like, oh shit, we got to go get him back. So the 3 minions and Otto set off on a mission to try to get Gru back. Turns out he was actually kidnapped by Wild Knuckles that's been looking after him, checking on his hideouts and whereabouts and whatnot. But the thing is, obviously, Gru don't have the stone. So they called the minions to tell him, like, hey, meet me in San Francisco at this spot in 48 hours or you ain't never gonna see your boss again. So basically, the 4 minions are going to set off to try to find this kid. 3 of the 4 minions are inside the house and they're like, hey, where's the stone? The kid said it wasn't his style. He ends up giving it to his uncle. Otto then sees the uncle on a motorcycle and he's got the chain on, the stone on, and he's riding off and Otto's chasing him down the street. The other minions don't know where the fuck Otto went. They don't know where the uncle is. So they're like, fuck this shit. We just gonna go to San Francisco. But they can't go to San Francisco. They ain't got no money. So they dress up as like flight attendants and pilots. Hijack a plane to take them from there to San Francisco. Meanwhile, the Vicious Six finds Gru's hideout, a bunch of minions in there, but they ain't find them. So yeah, they still in the move. The minions end up finding the hideout, but it's surrounded by Wild Knuckles henchmen. They try to sneak in, it don't work, and they start chasing them down the streets. Down the streets in that Chinatown. They get cornered, they start getting their ass whipped. Now this lady that's in there doing acupuncture, she sees the action going on outside, and she's like, I don't like people picking on little niggas. We actually found she's a kung fu expert, and she lays that smack down on all the henchmen. And then the minions thank her, and they want to do some very good convincing of getting her to teach them kung fu. Then she decides to do it. Now they go into training. Getting her to do punches and kicks and whatever like that, find your inner beast and all that good stuff. While that's going on, Otto finally caught up to the uncle. He gets the stone, and he's gonna take over the bike to ride to San Francisco. Taking pictures and shit along the way. They just enjoying each other, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they've been best friends for years, but they just met yesterday. So then we get the Wild Knuckles, and basically the henchmen quit because their reputation is shot. They got their ass whooped by old lady. So Wild Knuckles gets to this point where he just unties Gru. He's like, man, I need to do some chores around the house or some shit. And at this point, Gru doesn't even care because he's like, this is his idol. He'll do anything for him. So he gets Gru to try to clean out his pool, but the thing is, the pool got alligators in it. So Wild Knuckles is about to show him how it's done, but he damn near gets eaten up by his own alligators. Gru ends up saving his life, and then Wild Knuckles has a turn. He says, you know what? I'm going to teach you the ways. So he taught him the art of disguise. They go into this bank. There's a lot of shenanigans, but they get away with their mission. Basically, they go into the vault, and they rob the picture of Mona Lisa. Meanwhile, the minions' kung fu is complete. Now they go about to whip some candy ass. Crazy thing is, they get to Wild Knuckles' house, nobody's there, and then all of a sudden the Vicious Six pop up, and a whole bunch of mayhem happens. They destroy Wild Knuckles' house, it's all fucked up. Around the same time, Otto finally makes it to San Francisco, and the uncle drops him off. He's like right in front of this like parade with dragons and whatnot. So Wild Knuckles and Gru go back to the house, and it's a complete disaster, and he pretty much figured out who did it. He's got this sad moment. He was like, man, the Vicious Six, I trusted them. I trained them. He gets to a point where he's just gonna give up. Gru's like, man, you can't give up. And then he ends up kicking Gru out the house. So Gru's feeling sad. He's about to catch the light rail. All of a sudden, when he sees on the light rail, he ends up seeing Otto like, oh shit. He sees Otto, and he sees Otto has the stone. But right at that point, here comes the Vicious Six. Now I just want to explain something at this point. Obviously, Belt Bottoms is like the leader of the Vicious Six now. But one of them is actually dressed like a nun and has nunchucks. And her name is Nunchucks. Hilarious, right? One of them has like a lobster hand or whatever. One of them's just strong. The point is, that's the Vicious Six or Vicious Five, or what the fuck you want to call them. So they get the stone. All of a sudden, the boys come rolling up like they about to save the day. But bottom line is, it's 12 o'clock. And the powers of the stones goes inside the Vicious Five. And then they become terrifying monsters. Police weapons ain't doing shit. So basically, they top Gru and they end up putting him on a clock. On like this Big Ben type of clock. So basically, when the time keeps going, it's basically going to stretch his body apart. And then the minions come through. They had their training. Now it's time for them to whip some candy ass. And then Wild Knuckles finally shows up to the fight. And it's 4-on-5. The beef is real. Bottom line is they start getting their ass whooped at first. But then they find their inner beast. And they start giving the melee to niggas. Somewhere along this, Otto ends up saving Gru. They end up taking down Belt Bottoms. Not before Wild Knuckles end up getting fricasseed. She barbecued his ass. Gru ends up somehow snatching the Zodiac Stone. He taps into the powers and turns the Vicious Five into a bunch of rats. Looking like Ratatouilles and shit. And he saved the day. But this is another movie further proving that Gru can't do shit without the minions. He know he need them. So I know it's a cartoon, it's not supposed to make sense, but this is the weird thing. Wild Knuckles is strapped on a gurney, but they end up arresting him and taking him away in an ambulance, right? Then we get to this funeral scene and find out this motherfucker passed away. So Gru's getting the eulogy or whatever like that. Come to find out this nigga Wild Knuckles hiding by the tree the whole time. He ain't dead, he faked his death. So what was in the casket that the minions were carrying? A bunch of damn bananas. And then they get in the funeral truck and take off. The end. Or is it? Because after the credits roll, Gru and the minions end up going back to the criminal record spot. And Dr. Nefarious was like, look, I've had it, man. I'm about to go and do bigger things and bigger patches. But they convince him to be his #1 mad scientist. And he's like, all right, you want to see something cool? He ends up turning the whole criminal record spot into this big shoe fortress, which we all know if you've seen the Despicable Me movies is his main fortress. And bottom line, that's how Gru got started. Minions, The Rise of Gru on Netflix. Check it out.